Hello class, my name is Miss Schmidt and today we're going to be talking about telling time with clocks. This comes from an Iowa core standard that talks about telling time and writing time from analog and digital clocks to the nearest 5 minutes using AM and PM. Our goals for this class are that the students will be able to tell time from analog clocks to the nearest 5 minutes, which means that we'll focus on analog clocks. And the learning purpose behind this is that telling time is a skill used throughout life that is necessary for success in academics and careers. We'll be learning skills that are useful for the rest of the children's lives today. And so it's very important that you pay attention as we move forward. Okay, students, so as we begin, we're going to look at two types of clocks. We have our analog clock, which always looks like a circle. And then we have a digital clock, which will actually be how we write our time. So I'm not going to explain digital clocks very much because it's the same format every time. And you can just read the numbers to know what time it is. So I'm going to zoom in right here on our digital clock to start talking about that. So if you look at this clock, you will notice there's a space at the beginning, a space at the end, and a place in the middle that has two different sections. The beginning part here is always our hours. So there's two spaces, just in case if it's 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock. And this means that you could write in a number and it would look like this. And that is what a 2 would look like. But if you write a 2, it would look like this. So it could be 2 hours. And that's what that side means. Then the other side of the two dots means minutes. And you could have minutes be anything from 0 minutes to 59 minutes. So you could write that it's 2:55. And this means it's 55 minutes past 2 o'clock. But there's something really important to remember in the middle of every single digital clock. It's these two dots, and they separate our hours from our minutes. So you never forget how many hours it is and how many minutes it is. We'll keep this format for the rest of our time here as we are looking at analog clocks and writing time ourselves. So last time we talked about the hour hands and the minute hands. Now we're going to see what those look like on a clock. The hour hand tells you the minutes, and it's always smallest on the clock. So when we look at our clock, we can tell our hours by the big numbers that are here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Because our day is divided in half with 12 hours in each half. So analog clocks tell you 1 through 12. Now, if we get rid of all of those, and then we are looking at minutes, the minutes is the distance between the numbers. So from the 12 to the 1, it means that there are 5 minutes. There's a dash for each of those minutes, but we don't have to look at them right now. We can just know that the gap means 5 minutes. So then as you move from the 1 to the 2, you add 5, which means that it's 10 minutes. And then if you move from 2 to 3, you add 5 to your 10, and you get 15 minutes. And so on and so forth as we go around our clock. So we're going to take some time, and I'll fill in all of these times as you fill them in on your sheets. Now, you can see that I filled in each of the times and placed a red dash where the number lines up with the time. So, you'll also notice that at the 12, I didn't write in any numbers. Do you guys know why that is? It's because every time we get back to the 12, the clock resets and you would put 2 zeros instead of 60. Because it is 60 minutes, but that means it's an hour. So our hour hand will move to the next number. So now that we've looked at all of this, I'm going to put a couple times on here for you to look at and tell me if you know how to read what time it is. This first clock has 2 hands on it. The little hand is where? That's right, it's facing the 10, so that means that our hours are 10, and I'll write them below the clock each time. Now, We have to remember to separate our hours from our minutes with our 2 dots. After we do that, we can look and see where is our minute hand. It's going straight up to the 12. We just talked about this, so do you guys remember? It means that it's 0 minutes. It just changed to 10 o'clock. Now, if we zoom out and slide over, we'll see our second clock. This second clock says that it's what time past the hour. It says that it's 5 past the hour because the hand is between the 5 and the 6. And every time it's between them, you always go with a number that's behind it. The next thing that we'll note is that our minute hand is at the 3. So if you look at your sheets, you wrote down what time that is, or you can add 5 3 times, or multiply 5 times 3. And you'll end up with 15. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus another 5 is 15. So it's 5:15. Now let's move to our next clock. This one says that the hour is between the 11 and the 12, which means that it is, that's right, 11 o'clock. And then you'll put your 2 dots, and then we'll go ahead and look at our minutes. Our minutes is right on the 6. So if you take 5 times 6, you get 30 minutes, or you can add 5 that many times. You could go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And we can count clocks that way. So it's 11:30. Okay, this one is our last clock that we have in this row, and then we're going to practice making our own clocks by ourselves. This one says that it is where? It's closer to the 3 than the 2, but it's still after the 2 and before the 3, so it's still 2 o'clock here. And then our middle dots to separate our hours. And then if you look at your minute hand, it's right on the 9. And this means that it's 45. So we'll count again. 1, which is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So we'll write 45 down here as our time. So this whole time says it's 2:45. Okay, now we're back to a blank clock. So I'm going to draw in 3 separate times, and then we'll break into groups to practice our worksheets. I just want to make sure that you really know how to read our clocks. Okay, so what you see on this clock is 2 things, your minute hand and your hour hand. Does anybody know which one is our hour hand? Right, it's the short one. So when I circled it, it looks like I circled the 7. But is that right? No, that's wrong because we always go to the number that was before it. So our hour hand says that it's 6 o'clock. So I'll write that down here in green. It's 6. And then we put our 2 dots on top of each other in the middle. And then let's go ahead and look at our minutes. It's right across this number. And you can't see it because it's in front of them. So what you can notice is that it's between the 9 and the 11, which means it's at the 10. So you would take 10 times 5, and you would say that it is 50 minutes after 6 o'clock. Or you could just say it is 6:50. Now, our next time that I'm going to show you is going to be slightly different. So, if you look at this time, what do you notice? Right. Our hour is right by the 1, and it's after the 1, so we can just write 1, and then our 2 dots. And then if you look at your minutes, it's on the 2, which means it's 10 minutes past 1 o'clock. So it's 1:10. we'll do one more practice problem, and then I'll let you break into your small groups to practice this skill. So what this time shows is that our hour hand is after the 8, so it's 8 o'clock. And then our minute hand shows it's on the 11. So we have to remember our middle 2 dots, and if it's on the 11, we take it that many times around. Or if you wanted to, you could go that the 12 is 60, so if you get rid of 5, you're at 55. So it's 8:55. And that is how we tell our time. So if we go back and we look at our clocks of analog and digital, you've learned that an analog clock is really easy to read because each number means the hour and each space means 5 minutes between the numbers. And then we always write our time like it's on a digital clock. But how we say the time could be different. So, next lesson we'll talk about different ways that we can talk about time and different ways that we can tell what time it is if our minute hand is not exactly on a number. And we'll practice that some more next class. Break into your small groups now so you can practice. Thanks so much.